Greetings, beloved greats. Welcome to ATR Jesus, the Elite Women's Basketball Ministry and Brand. I am your host, Marita Porter, God's Greatness Ambassador. And this video is a quick game review of the Dallas Wings versus the Indy Fever. It was a good game on ESPN. And the Fever are still without Caitlin Clark. And I just want to briefly talk about a few things that stuck out to me about this game. And I know the Fever are without Caitlin Clark, and they have been able to win some games, but they still have been inconsistent. They're still a roller coaster team, which is why I think that disqualifies them from being a contender, even if Caitlin returns. So they have approximately 11 games left plus the playoffs. I think Caitlin returning, in my opinion, I think she should just sit out the remainder of the season, because she would have to really ramp up, and to be able to compete at a high level for her, at the level that she wants to play at. I think that would be pretty overwhelming, because they would be heavily dependent upon her for her greatness and, for minutes. And they're already down 2 point guards in Sydney Colson and Aari McDonald. I know they brought in Odyssey Sims. I don't know about Odyssey Sims. She's 33. She is a vet. So she does bring some veteran presence. But in the game last night versus the Dallas Wings and the Indy Fever, I didn't see her contribute much. She was in foul trouble a lot. She was trying to guard Paige Bueckers. And then on offense, she didn't look like she knew what she was supposed to do. And I know she just came in. So she played 13 minutes. I thought that was too many minutes for her. Those minutes could have gone to Lexi Hall. Those minutes could have gone to Chloe Bibby. Chloe Bibby provided a spark. The Fever offense, what they really should do is work to run plays for Lexi Hall, Sophie Cunningham, Chloe Bibby, and if Caitlin Clark were in, they should be running set plays for Caitlin Clark. Their offense is too heavily dependent upon Kelsey Mitchell, because Kelsey Mitchell can do a lot of things without needing screens because she's so fast. But if the coaching staff of the Fever could lean more into freeing up their shooters, every game would be a blowout. I like what the Minnesota Lynx is. They have an offense that frees up their shooters. In the Indy Fever, their coaching is just subpar, in my opinion. I can see where Stephanie White is frequently being out-coached. And I noticed that Austin Kelly is the offensive coordinator for this. His offense, to me, is more of a middle school style offense. For Caitlin last year, they were running pin downs, they were running off double screens, they were running Iverson cuts for. They were doing a lot to get her open. And I think that was a big miss for them this year. And now that Caitlin's out, they still have pretty good shooters. They have, again, Lexi Hall is a good shooter when she has her confidence going. Sophie Cunningham has shown that she's a shooter and she can knock it down, and Chloe Bibby. So they should be running plays for them. At least have at least two of them on the floor at the same time and run them on the same side. They should be running, plays for them to get open, to shoot the three, or pushing in transition, looking for them for 3-point shots. I was surprised that the Fever were down as much as 17. I was surprised. I thought this would be an easy win. However, I did see momentum building for Dallas Wings. They did beat New York at home, and they've been so close on a lot of their games. Another reason why I thought this would be a runaway for the Fever is because Arike didn't play. So Dallas has to have a lot of hope and a lot of promise, knowing that they can win games on the road without Arike. I think if Arike had played, they probably would have lost the game, because Arike is similar to Kelsey Mitchell, where she's always hunting her own shots, and she's not really a floor general. And to me, she blows a lot of shots. She takes a lot of wild and crazy shots. Arike can fit into this Dallas Wing system if she can learn to be a complement piece to Paige Bueckers. And I say the same for Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark. If Kelsey Mitchell can learn to be a complement piece to Kelsey Mitchell, the offense will flow better, and it will flow through Caitlin Clark. But Kelsey still competes with Caitlin Clark, and that's where it doesn't work. And that's the same with Paige Bueckers and Arike. They're competing. I do like that Maddie Seeger stepped up. I like Lee Rue. I thought when they brought her over to the wings, I thought that was a great job. She's easily a double-double player, and she has a great shot. So Dallas should definitely keep utilizing her shooting ability. So for the Fever, I was surprised that they started out in a 2-3 zone. They did not need to start out in a 2-3 zone. Why? Because Dallas isn't like Atlanta. Dallas isn't like New York and having a great powerful center like Jonquel Jones. I was surprised, like, why are they starting out in a 2-3 zone when Dallas doesn't really have a lot that will require you to slow the game down and start in a 2-3 zone. They're not that fast off the dribble. They do have some quick guards, but I was surprised to start at 2-3. The 2-3 zone helped Dallas because it allowed Dallas to start moving the ball. And I got to give it to the Dallas coaching staff. They knew how to bring them out of that 2-3 zone, but I don't think the Fever helped themselves by starting a game out of a 2-3 zone. It slowed the game down. And that's what a 2-3 zone does. It slows the game down. And Stephanie White likes to play slow. I think that's a mistake. So I think that was a poor coaching decision. Not sure why they started out in 2-3 zone. That was just a 0 out of 10 move for the coaching. I don't understand why they would do that. The highlights for me for the Fever, I would say they did fight back towards the end, but you can definitely tell that they don't have a stabilizer on the floor, and that's what Caitlin Clark does. She provides stabilization. She can stabilize the floor and manipulate the defense and create and pass and be a floor general. You can tell that they needed that leadership on the floor. However, they still had enough to convincingly beat the Dallas Wings. I just think too, I think this game was about coaching. And I think it keeps coming down to that. It's about coaching. I don't like the Fever offense. I think it's a middle school style offense. It's too basic. It's too easy to read. And I don't know. It doesn't provide enough options. And then they run it so much. They run until they run a shot clock down. And then the person left taking a shot is like, a Natasha Howard. Natasha Howard should not be shooting threes. And then you have, 5 seconds left on the shot clock. So then at that point, people are scrambling to take a shot. So the motion offense is not motioning. It's not, because the players don't know, well, who should take the shot? Well, who, should I take this shot? Or, she's kind of conditioning them to just keep passing, keep working. Then the shot clock goes down. And then they're scrambling to, get a shot off, and then the wrong person ends up shooting. So I would have to toss out that motion offense. You do need some sort of motion, but there should be many actions taking place when you have a motion. You have ball side action, then you have weak side actions too. So thumbs down on the motion offense. I don't think it's helping them at all. So time to let go of that. I do like that Sophie Cunningham is being aggressive. I do like that a lot. There's a lot of times where she would cut through the lane and she kicks it out instead of looking for her shot. So I do like that she's being aggressive. I want to see Lexi get her confidence back. She was doing a really good job at the beginning of the season, doing that one dribble pull up in a lane and one dribble turn, spin and fade away. She needs to go back to that. Put the ball on the floor and then make your little spin move, fade away, jump shot. She was doing that. Now she's not, because her three isn't always falling. So if she can get some of those little mid-range jumpers in and some of those reverse layups that she was doing, she can get her confidence back. But it doesn't help when you go from starting to not starting and you're trying to figure out, how can I contribute, on the team. So, and I would say that I am tired of the complaining about the refs, from Stephanie White to Caitlin Clark to Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston makes excuses. She's looking for the refs to bail her out. Lee Rue just outplayed Aaliyah Boston. She had her pinned up. She had her sealed. And I like the fact that Lee Rue was being very aggressive. Lee Rue is 6'7", so I'm glad she's being very aggressive And this is what Kamilla Cardoso, she needs to look at how, particularly this game, how Li Yu was playing. And that's what I would like to see from Cardoso, particularly on the pinning and the sealing. So Aliyah Boston was getting pinned and sealed by Li Yu, whose footwork was excellent. Aliyah Boston is really soft in this area when it comes to someone who's pushing back on her and being athletic with her. She has a difficult time, and I thought she was crying to the refs too much instead of move your feet and get around, do what you need to do. Aliyah's still missing bunnies, so Aliyah's kind of still, out of 10, I would give Aliyah a 6. They really needed her point production, and within the offense, they have her too far out because they don't have Caitlin Clark to run the pick and roll. The way they're using Aliyah Boston is not working. They need to, if they're going to use Aliyah Boston for this particular game, she needed to be posting up. They needed to get the ball down low. She needed to be doing what Li Yu was doing. Because they don't have Caitlin Clark. Now we need to put Aliyah Boston back in the post because we don't have anyone who can effectively run the pick and roll. And if you run the pick and roll, you can run it sometimes with Kelsey Mitchell, but Aliyah Boston needs to get back in the post, work the short corner, free throw line extended, jump shots, get her doing some pinning and some sealing, get those entry passes into Aliyah Boston so she can get back to the basket, because that is what she is good at. And then once you get a guard who can effectively do the pick and roll, then you can bring her out sometimes. But she's taken out a rebounding position if she's always being put away from the basket. And I don't necessarily like Aliyah Boston always shooting threes. I think here and there shooting threes is okay, but she should not be just hanging out at the free throw line. Natasha Howard, she had some moments, but Maddie Siegrist was on fire. She had a difficult time with Maddie Siegrist. She even had a difficult time with the other young lady who started. I think her last name is Jones. She had a difficult time with her too. So with Natasha Howard, she's a vet. She's older. You're gonna get some turnovers. You're gonna get some missed assignments. You're gonna get sometimes a lackluster lackluster results, because she's not as quick to the ball as she needs to be. But then she'll give you some really great moments. She does have a really great touch around the rim, so I do like that about Natasha Howard, and I like that extra pivot that she does when she's making her post move. I thought Paige Bueckers did well. However, Paige Bueckers needs to work on her mental game. She gets too lax when it's time to. And too passive when it's time to take over the game. She has to recognize when to be the star, and she needs to take over the game and become more clutch. I thought that she missed about 3 opportunities to make some very, very important shots that would extend the lead for Dallas, and that's mental work. She has to do a lot of mental work on herself to become that clutch player, because she can definitely become clutch. And we've seen that in many of her games. And she's going to have to develop core strength and get stronger. Not add muscle, but just get stronger. Strengthen her lower body, strengthen her core. And this is why she's getting these banged up injuries, because she doesn't have the core strength that she needs. She doesn't have the lower body strength that she needs. So it looks like she's being pushed around, and she's just not physically there yet. But even with that, she's still doing well. Right now, I would say she is my rookie of the year, but I do like Sonia Citron coming on strong, as well as Kiki for the Washington Mystics. Sonia Citron, to me, they're different players, but Sonia is more durable. She's a more focused player. She has more intent with her game. Paige Bueckers is a little bit more, I don't know what word I should use, but she's a little bit more nonchalant, laid back. But I would like to have seen her step up and, in clutch moments and knock down there was at least 3 baskets she should have stepped up and made, especially that one when they went to her and when she had the one-on-one. You have to make that. If you want to be amongst the greats, that's what greats do. So it's going to require some mental work for herself if she wants to become that type of player where she's always the go-to player, where she's the one making the clutch shots and making them. Yeah, you're going to miss some clutch shots, but if she wants to become that type of player, then she has to do the mental work for herself to become that type of signature player. So overall, I thought it was a great game. Indiana should not have lost that game. I wonder how they're going to come out. I think they have the Sparks and have Minnesota. Do they have the Sparks again? Maybe not. I'm not sure. But I know they have Minnesota coming up, and then they have Connecticut. So Indiana has to be very careful, because if they play like they played against Dallas, then Connecticut can come in and beat them. Or I don't know if they're going to Connecticut, or anyway, Connecticut could beat them. So they need to get themselves together, primarily because of coaching. I think the focus for Fever this year was too much of let's not focus so much on Caitlin Clark. Let's build up everyone else. Let's make everyone else feel like they're on equal playing ground. So let's take the tension off Caitlin and focus on building everyone else up and making everyone feel equal. I think that was a mistake. It was a mistake from marketing and branding. It was a mistake from team building. And, they may not see it that way, but outside looking in, it definitely was a mistake. So that's a quick review of the game. I would give the Fever out of 10. I would give them a really 4 rating because there's no way they should have lost that game. Even they should have came back and won that game. They started out slow, that 2-3 zone. I would give the coaching all around. The players respond to coaching, and sometimes players don't perform well, but everyone's responsible. And I want to see the Fever coaches, Caitlin Clark included, Aaliyah Boston, stop blaming the refs. You are the one out there. Even if the refs are calling a poor game, there's still a lot of things that you can do to overcome and win the game. Stop pointing the finger. Stop blaming the refs. Stephanie White included. Stop pointing fingers. Stop blaming the refs. Take accountability and talk about what you could have done. What you could have done to win the game. What plays you could have called. She should have called, she had a reset timeout. You don't leave it to chance. You're down by 1 with 12 seconds to go. You don't leave it to chance. You don't leave it to let's see what happens. Especially once the ball crossed half court and you saw Kelsey Mitchell just pounding the air out of the ball. At 5 seconds, you could have said timeout. 1 second doesn't give you enough time. 1.2 doesn't give you enough time. Kelsey Mitchell is not a closer in terms of end of the game. I can take over. I know what to do. IQ type player. And she should have called that timeout as soon as the ball crossed half court and, Kelsey was just pounding. So that would at least give me 5 seconds, even 3 seconds. But if it were me as a coach, I know it's hard to say what you would do in that moment, but I probably would have called my reset timeout right away. So I would have had a full 10 to 12 seconds to draw up a play. And speaking of, let's take a look at that. Let's see what that looked like, that end of the game situation looked like. I thought, I definitely thought they should have used, she should have called that timeout. Right. It just, she should have definitely called it right when the ball was taken out. So she would have had a full 12 seconds to use it. All right, let's take a look at it. And this is just, let's see. So at this point, it's 33 seconds left on the clock, 33.4, and Kelsey Mitchell just scored to put the Fever within one. So at this point, she has a reset timeout, and then they get the ball back. And now here we look. Now we have 1.7. So Stephanie White had 12 seconds. Back here in the backcourt, she could have called a timeout. Now this is the end of the game, 1.7 seconds. This was a clean play. There was no foul in the play. Shout out to JJ Quinterly for Dallas, because she did a great job on Kelsey Mitchell. She did a great job on Kelsey Mitchell, slowing her down and keeping up with her. So big shout out to JJ Quinterly and to Grace Berger, who got signed for the full season, remaining of the season contract to Dallas. So I do want to see Grace Berger become more aggressive, become an offensive threat, especially when they're swinging the ball to the top of the key. She has to be able to shoot the basketball. So this is the last 1.7 seconds of that play. They're looking to get Kelsey Mitchell open. Even that, this is a poorly run play now, because look where Kelsey catches the ball. She catches it in the corner. Now she had 3 seconds and 5 seconds. She could have gone off the baseline, but Beckers could have easily trapped here. But Kelsey catches it in the corner, and there's really nowhere for her to go and nothing for her to do but take the shot. And there was no foul on the play. And then you see Caitlin here on the court fussing at the refs. This I don't want to see. They're gonna have to silence Caitlin somehow, start giving her technicals, because there was no foul on play. That was a clean play. But her always charging at the refs, she shouldn't be able to do that. And it's just getting out of hand. It's getting out of control. You can see her charging at the refs. Dallas did a great job. They held on. And let's see Caitlin yelling at the refs. And it wasn't the refs. It wasn't the refs. The refs. If players have the mindset, it's not about the refs, it's about us. Yes, refs are going to have bad nights. They're going to make poor calls. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can fuss and cry about it. But at the end of the day, this game is on the players and on the Fever coaching. They were down 17. They did fight back to get within 1. But there was a lot of mistakes made from coaching to players. But in my opinion, it always starts with coaching. It always starts with coaching. It always starts with coaching. Coaches have to take responsibility, and I rarely hear Stephanie White taking responsibility. All right, salvation prayer. If you would like to see Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, please pray this prayer. Dear Lord Jesus, I want to be saved. Save me, Lord. Forgive all of my sins and be my personal Lord and Savior and my personal trainer too. Be sure to read Romans chapter 10, verse 13. Whoever calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Be sure to subscribe. ATR Jesus, Believe, Pray, Train, Reign, the elite women's basketball ministry and brand. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Marie Porter, host of ATR Jesus, the elite women's basketball ministry and brand. God bless you beyond measure in Jesus Christ's mighty name.